Namaste, my loves. Welcome to the mat and welcome to this brand new video. My name is Bethany and I am the Yogi Witch, and today we are going to be playing around with the wheel pose. So we're going to be working through a kind of extra long warm up, really starting to bring some heat, bring some space to the shoulders, to the hips, before we move into a flow and then eventually come to the peak pose, which is going to be our wheel pose. So this is a great flow that you can add into your wheel journey, the practice to get to your wheel pose, or just to develop some more shoulder mobility, a little bit more hip flexibility, and to keep pushing with that self-confidence. So you can grab any props that you want to bring. We're going to be needing a block today, I know that for certain. And when you're ready, I will meet you back here in a moment so we can get flowing. Okay, so to begin today's flow, we're going to move straight away into a supported fish pose. So taking hold of your block, if you don't have one. Maybe I'll edit that out, maybe I won't. If you don't have one, you can use a book, or you don't have to use one at all. It's completely up to you. But we're going to take this block kind of lengthways on our mat, and we're going to bring it in between the shoulder blades. So avoiding that lumbar spine, avoiding the neck. As we relax the body all the way down, and you're going to know when you found that spot because those shoulders will roll open super easily and you'll be able to get yourself comfortable. So taking as much shuffles as you need. Those arms can stay down by your side, maybe the legs stay bent, or you can intensify it straight away with me by bringing the bottom of the feet together and allowing those knees to fall open into butterfly legs. Beginning to rotate those shoulders, finding space by flipping our palms all the way to the sky. And as always, we're going to kickstart today's class as a coven with a beautiful deep inhale and a slow exhale all the way out. Just giving ourselves a few moments to come to the mat. And to kind of balance out our breath, equal inhales, equal exhales. And sending that breath all the way to the base of the belly. And feeling that belly rise. Feeling that belly fall. And we're going to stay here for, let's say, 10 more breaths, just to create a little bit of warmth and a bit of space in the shoulders and the hips. As the wheel pose is not necessarily everything to do with the spine, it is really a lot to do with the shoulder mobility, how much we can rotate them, the strength in the upper body, and also our hip mobility, so we're able to push the pelvis higher and create that beautiful arch. So before we come any further into today's flow, we're going to take a moment to acknowledge the fact that we came to the mat, to acknowledge the fact that we dedicated time to our well-being, and we started dedicating time to practicing some deeper poses in our yoga journey, so practicing the wheel pose. Remembering that our yoga journey is that, it's a journey, it's not a race. Every time we step onto the mat, it's a little bit differently, so it doesn't matter if you come all the way into a wheel or if you start to work on bridge raises, work on the shoulder mobility, etc., etc. It does not matter. The fact that you came here, you gave it a go, and the fact that we always search for progress over perfection. I always say this in my flows, and I really do stress this. So staying here for 5 more breaths. If you want to increase the final 5 breaths, you're going to interlock those fingers together and take the arms all the way overhead. It's a much deeper stretch for those shoulders. So if this pose isn't for you, then release those arms back down by your side. Holding for 3, for 2, and for 1. With control, you gently release those arms down by your side and we bring those knees to touch very slowly. They can be a bit sore. From here, we're going to roll off the block and just move it to one side. We'll come back to it in a moment. As we bring those knees into the chest, bending one knee, bending another, and just taking a few rocks from side to side. So just kind of massaging the base of the spine into the mat. Before we keep opening these hips a little bit more, keeping those big toes to touch, our hands are going to come to those knees, and we're going to begin to make some really gorgeous circles with these knees. So moving these knees out to one side, bringing them back to touch. As we take the circles in one direction, move and take it in the other. From here, we're going to find our way into our happy baby pose. So taking the outside of the feet, rolling back the shoulders, pressing that lower spine to the mat. We're going to stay here for 5 breaths, in through the nose and out through the nose. It can be quite a deep stretch, happy baby. So if you have to modify by taking hold of the knees, you're welcome to do so. But remembering to really push down to that lower spine, engage that core. For 3. For 2. Yes, for 1. Bring the feet together, extend the legs to the sky, and you can choose to roll to one side and bring yourself to your tabletop, or you can extend the legs to the sky, taking a few rocks forwards and backwards, whoop, before maybe you roll all the way into a tabletop position. And from our tabletop position, we move to puppy pose. So hips stacked on top of those knees. And we begin to lower the body all the way down. So you can move onto the forehead, or maybe you find space to come onto the chin. If you want to go even further with this pose, and it is completely up to you, you bring the knees to touch, and as you, gotta get myself comfortable, and as you lower the body down, you bring the big toes to touch and squeeze them as close as you can get it to those hip bones. Holding 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, on your 1, release the feet, press into those hands to roll into your Sphinx pose, shoulder stack on top of those elbows. And we're going to move into a deeper kind of hamstring stretch. So right hand comes into the center of the mat. We bend the left leg, and this left hand's going to float around to find the foot, guiding it in the direction of the hips. Now remember, it doesn't have to look like mine. I just have really weirdly flexible feet. It can be here. It doesn't matter. We want to keep the chest lifted and really embrace that stretch. Like I said, we're really going to work with a warm-up today because we don't want to rush straight into a flow or straight into the peak pose. I especially find with a wheel pose that you really, really, really want to warm up those shoulders, warm up those hips. So keeping the chest lifted, holding here 2 more breaths. Beautiful. Before we relax the left leg down, take it to the other side, left leg, or left hand, sorry, comes into the center of the mat, bend the right knee, and we take this hamstring stretch. Holding here, 2 more breaths. Beautiful. Before we release the right leg down, and from here we lower the body, head comes into the tops of the hands, and we can give those hips a little bit of a wiggle. So moving into one of my favourite shoulder openers, it's quite like a yin yoga pose. From here, we extend those arms into a T shape. Now, you can keep this arm extended, or maybe you bend it if you really want an intense shoulder stretch into cactus arm. But wherever you are, we bend the right hand next to the body, and we begin to roll onto those left shoulder. So it's a super deep stretch. If it's too much in cactus arm, then extend it all the way straight. But wherever you choose to be, we hold it 5 breaths. If you want to increase it, step this right leg behind. Oh, my shoulders are tight. With every exhale, maybe you find a centimetre more space. Before we inhale, exhale, move the body back into the center, and you can choose to extend the right arm or maybe bend it to cactus. But let's take the stretch to the other side. Oh my God, my shoulders are tight. Holding 5 breaths. Remember, you can extend the arm or you can keep it bent at a cactus arm. It's completely up to you. Two more breaths. Beautiful, rolling the body back into the center, forehead comes low, hands come next to the chest. On your inhale, we bend those elbows, keep the hips low, move to cobra. Exhale, tuck the toes under, bend those knees, and we find our way into our first down dog of the class. So beginning to pedal out these legs, bending one knee, bending another, pedaling them out, finding a bit of space in those hamstrings. And remember, this is your down dog, only you know how you feel, so wiggle those hips, nod the head yes, shake it no, anything at all. But we're going to hold our down dog for 5 breaths, so finding your alignment. Last rib comes in, softening those knees to push the hip bones higher. Holding for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, beautiful, and 1. Those big toes come to touch the back of the mat. We inhale to sweep the right leg to sky, bend this knee off, split dog, and let's take some split dog movements. So drawing a big circle in one direction with this right knee, moving and taking it in the other. Before we inhale once again, split dog. Exhale, draw the knee to the chest. Step it between the hands, lower the back knee down. On your inhale, we move into our twist, sweeping the right arm all the way to the sky. And on our exhale, we wrap this right arm behind the body so the back of the hand touches the back of the left ribs, holding here for 5, 4, yes, 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful. Release the right hand all the way down. From here, we engage the core. Inhale all the way to our low lunge. Bring those hands to touch. And keeping this core engaged, we're going to allow those hands to drop behind the back. So kind of the thumbs are between the shoulder blades. Taking your gaze nice and high. If you want to go a bit further with those hips, you can walk the front foot forward and sink into them here. It's a deep pose, so keep the breath nice and steady, holding 5. Keep the gaze up, front leg is working hard for 3. Yes, for 2. Whoop. And for 1, hands come to heart center. Let's find our way to our prayer twist. Using this left arm to push us a little bit deeper in our twist. You can stay here, my darlings, or maybe you tuck the toes under and lift the back leg all the way up, finding that strength. As we inhale. Exhale, hands come to the mat, step back to plank, knees up, knees down, find your way through your vinyasa, keeping those elbows bent, hips low. We inhale to cobra. Exhale, bend those knees, tuck those toes, back to our down dog for 5 breath hold. You can keep movement going or you can find stillness, but remember, last rib comes in and push those hip bones higher, even if you have to soften those knees a little bit. Beautiful. And 2 more breaths. Remember, if it ever gets too much, drop those knees to tabletop or child's pose. But when you're ready, we bring the big toes to touch. Inhale, left leg floats to the sky, bend the knee off, and let's take the split dog circles. So rolling this knee in one direction. Yes, moving and taking it in the other. Before we inhale back to our split dog. Exhale, draw the knee to the chest, step it between the hands. We lower the back knee down, move to our twist. Right hand stays down, adjust your leggings. Left arm comes all the way to the sky. Before we wrap it behind the back, pull the shoulder open, gazing towards the stars. For 5, 4, 3, for 2. Yes, on your 1, and wrap the left arm. As we inhale, engage the core, find our way, low lunge. Oh, these leggings. Exhale, hands come to touch. Drop them behind the back again, so thumbs are between the shoulder blades. If you want to go deeper with those hips, shuffle the front foot forward and sink into those hips here. Taking the gaze up nice and high, 5 breaths. I know it's hard, but you've got it. Holding for 5. Keep that core engaged, don't hold the breath. For 4. For 3. Yes, for 2. Front leg is working so hard. For 1. Hands come to heart center. Find that prayer twist. Right elbow, left knee again. If you want to tuck those toes under, push into the heel to lift up. You are welcome to do so. Holding 5. Yes, as we inhale. Exhale, hands come to the mat. Yes, we step back to plank and roll through our vinyasa. Elbows are bent. Inhale to cobra. Exhale, this time we bring the big toes to touch, take those knees wide, and we shuffle the body into our child's pose. So you can choose to come into a regular child's pose, or if you have that block, you can bring those elbows onto the block, hands to prayer, and you drop the head in between them. So getting quite a deep shoulder stretch here. I'm sorry if my mic's going mental. If it's not for you, then remember, just remove the block. Keep it down. Always modifying any pose to suit you. Giving yourselves 3 more breaths. When you're ready, you take a deep inhale. On your exhale, gently release the arms from your prayer hands if you have them, and hands come back to the mat. Let's just find a bit more space in the side of the body by walking those hands over to the right hand side of our mat. If you want to go deeper, move on to the fingertips of the left hand. Inhale, we move into the center, my loves. Exhale, over to the left hand side, moving on to the fingertips of the right hand. Inhale, we move back into the center, press into our palms as we roll the body to our tabletop. And let's begin just to ease the spine with a few cat-cow stretches. So on your inhale, you drop that chest to gaze forwards. On your exhale, curve the spine and find your way to that cat stretch. So just take in this movement a few more times. Beautiful. And without rushing, the next time that you curve that spine to your cat stretch, you tuck those toes under, and let's find our way back to our down dog. Rib comes in, pushing those hip bones higher. Getting ourselves comfortable. Before we bring the big toes to touch, inhale, we sweep the right leg all the way to the sky, bend this knee off your split dog, and keeping those shoulders facing towards the front of the mat, we really open this hip to the side, holding for 5, for 4, 3, 2, open, 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 and 1, yes, draw this knee to the chest, step it between the thumbs. You can choose to drop this back knee, or maybe you keep it lifted into your high lunge. But we inhale to sweep those arms to the sky, engage that core. On your exhale, bring those hands to prayer. Sorry, my mat is so still new. It's very squeaky. Dropping the hands to prayer behind the back, opening up that heart, sinking into those hips, gaze up. It's a strong pose. You've got it. Yes. Holding 3 more breaths. Keep that gaze high. Dropping those fingertips behind the back. Find your back bend for 3, for 2, Yes, on your one, hands come to prayer, and you find that way into your prayer twist, really pushing into that left elbow to take the gaze behind you. Whoop. Beautiful. From here, lower the back knee, untuck those toes, and our hands frame the front foot before we lift those toes up and find our way into our half split. So imagining you're bringing the space between the eyebrows to the knee. It's a fast transition, but it's a really gorgeous one. I want to bring a bit of heat now. We've opening up the muscles. Let's find that strength. As we inhale, exhale, toes come back to the mat, and we step back in to our plank. Knees up, knees down, finding your way first through your vinyasa. Before you bend those elbows, find your way first into cobra, and then into your down dog. Hip bones come high. When you're ready, let's bring the big toes to touch. Inhale, left leg floats to the sky, bend it off to split dog. And remember, we're going to hold this for 5 breaths. So you want to square those shoulders to the top of the mat and draw these left toes as far over to the right hand side as possible. Holding for 5, for 4, for 3, 2, open, open, open. For 1, draw the knee to the chest, step it between the thumbs. Remember to drop that back knee down if you need to, or you inhale to find your way to that. One of these days, I'm going to get through one of these videos being really professional, and I'm waiting for it. I'm excited. So hands come to prayer, drop the thumbs behind the back, bend into the front knee, keep those hips level. As we take the gaze high, it's a deep, deep pose. Holding 5 breaths, you've got it. I believe in you. Holding 5, 4, front leg burning. For 3, 2, yes, and 1. Transition to that prayer twist, really using that right elbow to twist you a little bit deeper here. Yes, drop that back knee and find your way to that half split. Lift those toes up and we forward fold. Sinking low, as if you're going to bring that forehead all the way to the knee. As you inhale, my loves. Exhale, hands come to frame that front foot. Find your way into your plank. Knees up, knees down. Take your vinyasa. Inhale to cobra. On your exhale, let's take those hip bones back to the sky for a 5 breath down dog hold. So finding our alignment, maybe taking any wiggles that you need. We've warmed up the body, we've found some space. Now let's go and explore our wheel pose. So if you have jumped through in your practice, you might jump through. Maybe you simply lower those knees to the mat. Or you can learn to jump through by bringing the right knee to the right wrist and lower it to the mat. Keeping this left leg lifted, we inhale to bend the knee. Find our way first into a seated position. And then from here, we're going to bring, we're going to bring the bottom of the feet together, move the hips close to the heels, and relax all the way back into a reclined butterfly pose. So just allowing the knees to kind of wiggle a little bit just to ease yourself here. Just spending a few more moments opening up those hips before we start to explore our wheel pose. So again, working with that intention, that sense of pride that we came to the mat in the first place, that we've dedicated time to our well-being, to taking care of our body, but more importantly, taking care of our mind. So it doesn't matter if you come into wheel, it doesn't matter if you stay in your bridge, what matters is that you came to the mat. And you know that was a good speech because the sun's just come out in Wales and it's been raining here with Storm Eunice for about 5 days. Started on Friday and now it's like Tuesday. So when you're ready, my loves, we take a beautiful deep inhale. Gently bringing those knees to touch on our exhale, and we take a few windscreen wiper movements from left to right. From here, we're going to work with our wheel pose, and we're going to come into it kind of my favorite way, which is through our bridge raises and eventually into our wheel pose. And we'll take a wheel pose a couple of times just to break it down, see how our confidence is feeling, see how our hips are feeling, how our shoulders are feeling. And now remember, a wheel pose can be one of those poses that does come naturally. I am a natural backbender, that's where I have most of my flexibility, so I was able to do the wheel pose when I first started. However, I cannot do anything to do with hips. And we all have preferences in yoga, what we prefer. Some people are really good at inversions or arm balances, while other people are really good at anything to do with flexibility, so like the splits, I don't know, wheel pose, etc., etc. And it doesn't make our practice any less worthy, it just means that our body is different. If you think about it, the way I describe to my students in the studio, if I were to say for all of you to come into down dog and I put you all next to each other, it all looks differently. Sometimes down dog comes naturally to one person and other people struggle. That's kind of life. We are all different people, we're all different bodies, and the way our mind and our body, our energy reacts to a pose is completely different. So I really want you to remember that as we come into our practice. So we're going to move with our bridge raises. From here, we're going to wiggle those heels as close as we can get them to the hips. And we want to keep these knees nice and glued together to find the strength in the quads. All together, we take a deep inhale. And a slow exhale all the way out. On our next breath, we press into those feet to lift the pelvis into the sky. If you have the hip space, maybe you move on to those tippy toes, but we're going to hold it here for 5. Keep them lifted for 4. Keep them lifted for 3. 2. Yes, on your 1, lower the heels down, and we windscreen wiper these knees from left to right. Now, if the first bridge felt enough for you, you can stay practicing there, maybe even taking your block, popping it underneath the hip bones, and just staying in a supported bridge, especially if you've got any pain in the lower spine. Or if you're feeling all right, you might choose to keep going with me to stage 2. So wiggling those heels as close as you can get to the hips, knees stay close together. This time, we extend those arms to the sky and we're going to flip those palms. So the inner wrist faces towards the top of the mat and those fingertips face towards the shoulders. Now recognizing if those elbows are plopping to the side. If they are, bring them nice and tight into one another. This is where we find our space and our strength. On your inhale, we lift those hip bones up, maybe moving on to those tippy toes. Not lifting those shoulders yet. We hold 5. Walking those tippy toes closer for 3. Pressing into those hands without lifting the chest off the floor for 2. Yes, for 1, walk the feet back, release those hands, and we windscreen wiper the knees from left to right. I'm sorry if my microphone is getting a bit loud. I know it's falling into my neck, but I have nowhere else to put it. So, 3rd time round. If the first 2 are the ones suited to you in your practice today, my darlings, then I really invite you to stay here. Remember, we work with the body, not against it. If you want to explore your wheel pose, then you can do so. So it takes a little bit of confidence to put into our Takes a little bit of confidence to push into our wheel pose. When you press those hands down, you really want to press into those feet to push those shoulders through our arms and find that gorgeous little arch of the spine. So it takes a little bit of kind of faith in your body that you can lift yourselves out. But remember, you can bring yourself out of this pose whenever you want to. Always remember that once you get up there, you're not stuck. You can gently release the chest down, gently release the hips down, and come back to your bridge. So when you're ready, you can take round 1. You can take round 2. Maybe you want to explore with me in round 3 by taking those hands next to the ears, finding your strength, squeeze those elbows together. From here, we press into the feet to lift those hip bones. And if it feels all right, maybe you press into the hands and lift the chest all the way up. Don't let that chest fall in. Push it all the way out. Moving to the tippy toes, squeeze those knees together. Yes, holding here for a moment. Yes, before we gently release the shoulders down, we release the hips down and we hug these knees to the chest, giving ourselves a moment here. So being aware of any emotions that have arisen during our back bend, our heart opener. If maybe you feel like a little flutter of kind of anxiety in that heart, that's okay. It can be quite a rush of blood to the system. It can be a little bit of an inversion, obviously, for the head. So sometimes it can be a little bit too much. Give yourself a chance to reset. Give yourself a break. And we're going to take it one more time, maybe holding our wheel pose a little bit longer. If it's not for you today, then come back to supported bridge, come back to just lying down, anything that feels good. But if you're feeling all right, you might choose to come with me straight away into second round of your wheel pose. Flip those hands to the mat. Give yourself a little bit of space with those legs. When you're ready from here, press into those hands, lift the chest up, maybe moving on to those tippy toes, holding here for a few more breaths. Holding 3, for 2, for 1. Lower the shoulders down, lower the hips down, and hug the knees into the chest. Giving ourselves a moment here. No movement, just stillness. Before we maybe take some shuffles from side to side. Taking a moment to be proud of ourselves, whether we came into the wheel pose or whether we didn't. The fact that we came to the mat is the most important thing. So, if you want to practice the wheel pose a little bit more, you are more than welcome to press pause in this video, maybe repeat it a couple of times. Or if you're kind of done, no more wheel pose, you can come to cool down with me. And we're going to move into a shoulder stand and then move into our plow pose. So from here, we're going to get a bit of momentum and we're going to lift those legs to the sky, our hands catching underneath our hips. First coming to our shoulder stand. And then keeping these legs glued together, we flex the feet and we're going to aim to bring those tippy toes all the way to the mat. Holding here for just a few breaths. In through the nose and out through the nose. Yes, before we engage the core, come back to shoulder stand and we lower the hips into the mat, coming straight away to happy baby. Remember, we want to press those hips into the mat. From here, we bring the feet to touch, we bring the knees to touch, and allow them to fall over to the right hand side, gaze comes over to the left. Inhale, these knees come to the center, exhale, allow them to fall to the left hand side, gaze comes over to the right. Inhale into the center, wrapping your arms around the knees, lifting the shoulders, lifting the head, giving yourself a well-deserved hug here. Before releasing the feet to the mat, and we bring those knees to touch. So just coming into like a pyramid kind of shape with our legs, just to ease out the spine. Hands can stay rested on the belly. Giving ourselves just a few moments to cool down, to kind of allow our body to relax. We've put it through a lot of hard work today exploring our wheel pose. But if you're feeling any emotion come up, that's okay. Remember, when we work with backbends, we work with heart chakra flows, a lot of things can arise. That's normal, that's what we look for in the kind of the spirituality, the emotional side of yoga, which is what it kind of started as. It was never meant to be a physical practice. So maybe if you journal, you're welcome to do some journaling after this class. And then from here, my loves, if you want to stay here a little bit longer, you're welcome to do so. Or if you're ready to come out with me, you take an inhale. And a slow exhale out, maybe taking any movements that your body craves. Before we bend the knees to the side, and we roll our body into a comfortable seated position, taking a few shoulder rolls, taking a few neck movements. Anything that feels good to you. But when you're ready, we're going to close the class as always together with one deep inhale and one slow exhale all the way out, blinking those eyes open and coming back into the room, thanking ourselves for coming to the mat today, for the others who joined together as a coven to practice our wheel pose. And as always, from me to you, thanking you for allowing me to be your teacher for today's class. So remember, A wheel pose takes practice, it takes patience, and always search for progress on the mat and never perfection. If you have any questions about the wheel pose, you can drop it down in the comments below or send me a message on my Instagram at @theyogiwitch. But remember, I upload 3 free flows a week. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you on the mat again soon, my darlings. I'll see you later. Hi my darlings, thank you so much for practicing with me on the mat today. Remember, you can subscribe to my channel for 3 free flows a week right over here, or you can take a look at my other playlist right over here. I hope I got the pointing right, or else this was a really pointless end to the flow. But anyway, I thank you so much and I look forward to seeing you again soon.